Greetings, Duelists, and welcome back to the Underground. This is episode 17 or 18, one of them, and we have very sad news to talk about. So, yesterday on September 12th of 2025, we gotten our next Forbidden Limited list that takes into effect on the 15th, which will be next Monday. In that Forbidden Limited list, we've had two hits that involve the Maliss theme. One of the hits, you see it right upwards in the screen, it is Splash Mage. And the second hit was Dormouse. Dormouse will now be limited after Monday. Let's talk about Splash Mage first before we talk about Dormouse. Splash Mage was historically known to be a very strong Cyberse extender. This was used in a lot of popular strategies like Salamangrate, like the Code Talker theme, and so on and so forth. This card was basically I guess Mathmech is another notable mention that I have to bring up. This card has been very known for being a really good extender and to just bridge into the Code Talker monsters or into other like Cyber's boss monsters in the past. And Maliss is no exception. This card became very essential for Maliss right after Alliance Insight when we got Marshhair and we got the Adignisters. So, with Splash Mage gone, what happens to Maliss? So, the first thing that happens is Maliss in Underground is no longer a one card starter for the deck. And Maliss P White Rabbit is also no longer a one card starter from the in the deck unless you play TB11. TB11 is the Maliss trap card that a lot of Maliss players have been cutting from their main deck because essentially this card just played into too many of your opponent's cards. It made your boards weaker, like into Fualas, Molotov Fualas rather. And when going second, this card was essentially a brick because the monster that you would summon with this card's effect does not get to activate its effects and it cannot attack. So essentially, like the Maliss monster that you summon with TB11 is kind of useless. If TB11 did not have the freeze effect, or if it had the clause where the monster's effect was negated, the TB11 arguably could have been the best Maliss card because that would have meant you being able to use Heart Scripter. But but Konami was very smart with the design of this card. Like, that specific restriction just made this card not that playable in Maliss. However, now with Splash Mage gone, can you justify playing TB11 back in the main deck? Because, like, White Rabbit is no longer a one card starter if you don't play TB11. Underground is now an extender, is no longer a starter. You can make the argument that both Underground and White Rabbit can come back to 3, like, for the next list. And now that brings us to Dormouse. Dormouse by itself would have been a one card combo, even with the Splash Mage for being forbidden. However, the problem is Dormouse is now limited. And if Dormouse is now limited, like, your odds of seeing that one Dormouse to just combo off against your opponent are very, very slim. So, with all of this being said, is there still a saving grace for Maliss? before we keep talking about like the saving grace for Maliss and like Maliss as a whole in the future, I kind of just want to preface everything that happened because of Maliss. In the OCG, Appaloosa Above the Goddess was still limited. Well, it was still unlimited, and this card became forbidden just because of Maliss. Uh, Splash Mage is now gone from the TCG because of Maliss. Nightmare Griffin obviously left the TCG because of Maliss. There was no other strategy that was actually making Griffin like very consistently and was turning Griffin into a problem. Griffin was always a problematic card ever since its debut in 2018 in Flames of Destruction. However, Maliss was the one deck that made it over the top and just warranted the card being gone. Link Decoder, which arguably can come back now, was a very strong extender that made Maliss play through a plethora of hand traps, even with like their Link 3 monsters. So this also being gone was also justified. For the longest time, Bestial Druid's Worm was unlimited. Like Bestial Magnamut was previously limited because of Dragon Link back in 2023, but Bestial Druid's Worm outlasted every other of the outlasted Magnamut for 2 more years up until April of 2025. So now that we're talking, now that we reached the contingency, I think it comes to no surprise that a lot of people just don't like Maliss. Like, a lot of good cards left because of this deck. And not only that, you can make the argument that Splash Mage left to save White Binder. White Binder was clearly the best card in the entire deck. This was the card that catapulted the archetype, and this was the card that basically made it so the deck had a lot of strong matchups. If there was one card in the theme that it could have been gone from the game, it could have been White Binder. And this goes back to talking about, I guess we can talk about what happened with Kashtira back in 2023. Ever since 2023, like late 2023, I have been noticing the trend where Konami of the TCG wants to try to keep every single archetype alive, at least with its main theme. Maliss is no longer a consistent one-card combo deck, but Maliss is still really powerful at what it does. Like, if this deck gets rolling, like, the M boards that you see with this deck are still going to be almost limitless. They're going to be extremely powerful, and it's only a matter of time until somebody figures out like one version of the deck that can be played like efficiently. I can say this for sure. I don't trust the Agnister engine anymore. Like, if you saw Juna's top 8 list from Worlds that involved the Spreaduker engine, even Juna herself said that the backup Agnister engine was not like super preferable for them. So yeah, before I end this episode, because there is there's like 2 more topics I want to bring up. The first topic was, did Maliss warranted a hit before this list during Justice Hunters format? I think it's very obvious that Justice Hunters power crept Maliss a little bit, but it didn't stop Maliss from being like the very dominant force that it was. So I would say to some degree, Maliss did needed a hit, because if Justice Hunters format ever ended, or we never had a format that just went beyond Justice Hunters and the way the card design in Justice Hunters is favored to be, then Maliss will come back and just rear off like everybody else's ugly heads. I hope you understood that reference. Now, what's gonna happen with Malice now? Uh, I think it's safe to say this is no longer gonna be a tier 1 deck. I don't think Malice will be the best deck anymore after this hit. Like, there's no way this deck can do things at the level Yummy is doing, because Yummy is essentially the best one card combo deck now. And not only that, uh, Yummy just has way more starters. Now, I will show you guys one more thing, and you will see this with my next deck report. This is a list that I built for the North American WCQ. If you already seen that deck profile, you already know what I'm showing. Did you notice that in this list, there is no Splash Mage? Yeah. Um, so, new profile coming soon. Stay tuned for the next deck report. Until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.